Hi guys, and today I've got for you the Jeep Renegade, and you're wondering, why am I reviewing the Jeep Renegade? Hasn't it been out a while? Yes, it's actually been out since 2015, and I have reviewed it in several different guises, both here and in the Middle East. You'll find those videos on my previous channel, Motoring Middle East, and I'll put the links in the description below. Now this is trail rated, this is a Renegade, this is the top of the range Trailhawk as well, but the interesting thing is that something is unique about this car. The front and the rear all-wheel drive system isn't mechanically connected, and I'll show you why that is over here, because this is the first Jeep to be electrified. So this is a plug-in electric hybrid. As you can see, that's where that goes, and on the other side is a normal fuel filler cap, and on the back here you can see it's called the 4xE, and that denotes the first Jeep that is electrified. Jeep are saying that within the next 2 years they're going to have some form of electrification on all of their cars. So how does it work? It's got 60 brake horsepower, a motor at the back, 11.4 kilowatt hour battery, and at the front is a 1.3 cylinder 1.3 litre 4-cylinder engine. Combined in the regular car, it's about 188 brake horsepower, and this top of the range Trailhawk edition is about 238 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds. But it is a heavier car, 1600 kilograms, top speed about 124 miles per hour. Now, obviously, the emissions take a nosedive, so it's only 51 grams per kilometer emission, so that's pretty good. And the fuel economy, well, that skyrockets. Well, allegedly, according to Jeep, they quote something like 124 miles per gallon. Now, I have seen 85 miles per gallon on this car, but I think that was mostly because it was using the battery at the time. So the way it works is it got 3 modes. I'll go into those when we get into the car, but you can have an electric only range of up to 30 miles, so just on the battery. So like I said, the all-wheel drive system is because the rear is electric and the front is powered by an internal combustion engine. Just to complete that thought on the fuel economy, I reckon real world we're talking about 55 or so miles per gallon is sort of my guesstimate of what it would be like. It's not cheap. We're talking well over £35,000, closer to £39,000 in this top spec car. How does it compare to the regular Renegade, which is one of the cars actually I do quite like, but it is very much a car for its purpose, i.e., it's a small, compact family SUV that can actually do the business when it's off-road, because this is trail rated, and trail rated means that it has done some extraordinary difficult off-roading in the Rubicon Trail. That's how it gets a trail rated badge. So what we'll do is we'll have a quick look at the practicality and the rear, although that's fairly common, so we'll just do that quickly, and then more importantly we take a look at the front and take it for a drive and see what it's like. Before we do any of that, make sure that you're subscribed to youtube.com/Brown Car Guy. Make sure you're following me on browncarguy.com. Make sure you follow me on all the social media channels. Just search for my hashtag, which of course is #BrownCarGuy. And if you can, think about supporting and sponsoring my content on patreon.com/Brown Car Guy. Cool. Let's get into this. So the boot opens from here. It's not powered, it's manual, and once you open it you get a decent sized boot. It's about on par for a car of this size. There's a little bit of a kind of a slope here, so you have to get stuff over to this bit across the slope, but otherwise it's not too bad. As you can see from the seats at the back, they are split folding, so it's 60/40 with a center bit that also folds down and gives you essentially an armrest with 2 cup holders in it. That's for the rear seat occupants. Looks like there's a big woofer speaker here as well. There's a hook here, hook there. There's tie hooks on each side, a little pocket, and a lamp there as well. So what's this? What's the bag? So the bag basically has a charging cable in the car, so that's what that's for. And then you have this floor, and under the floor you have what looks like is might be a space saver tire in there, but it's definitely a tire that you can replace. And you get a toolkit in there as well. So there you go, that's the boot. Not bad, quite usable. Let's just quickly have a look at the rear cabin space before we get into the front. Here we go. So we're getting into the back with the front seat set for my driving position. Of course, I'm 6'2" with long legs, so this driver's seat is set for me, so I'm sitting behind myself effectively, and that's not too bad. I mean, I'm using up all of the available squishy room behind here, so it's not like it's generous, but it's okay. It's not too bad. It's quite tolerable. I could do short journeys like this, no problem. The reason I couldn't do long journeys is that this part here is just digging into my lower legs just here a little bit, so I can't exactly stretch out my legs, but otherwise, if I'm sitting like this and stuff, that's not really a problem. Plenty of room for my feet, that's not an issue. Headroom, I could wear a top hat, no problem at all. Elbow room, not too bad. What do I get back here? There's one USB charging point, so that's quite good. No vents or anything like that. Of course, electric windows and all the rest of it. Feeling like I sit slightly upright, but you do have the armrest, which is operated through this little hook here. You drop that, you got the armrest and the two cup holders. And as for the rest of it, it's not too bad. There's pockets and all the rest of it, you know, it's not too bad. Also, you know, you've got access to the rear if you needed to, so that's quite handy, isn't it? Time to get into the front and see if there's any differences between the regular Renegade and this pseudo-electric one. Well, plug-in hybrid electric. So here we are in the Jeep Renegade, and no such problems with space at the front. Of course, plenty of room here. There is a bit of a footrest here, which for my long legs could be an issue, but I can just put my foot next to it and then I can stretch it out, no issue at all. It is a 2-pedal drive, of course, 6-speed automatic in this car. Let's start it out, foot on brake. Press the starter button. You see the 4xE logo comes up on here. At the moment it started the engine because the battery is completely depleted, but very often, you know, there is a percentage saying 0% now on the battery. So basically the display here, which you can configure from these buttons, so you can go hybrids, drive how it's using it, your trip meter, the audio system, messages, displays, setup, miles per hour, etc., tire pressure monitor, driver assist systems. But this is interesting. So this shows you 54 miles per gallon is what I've got since I've used up the electric power, although it does maintain a hybrid drive. We'll talk about that on the go. 166-mile range. This is where it shows you the battery. That's where it shows you the fuel. This dial here shows you how much power you're using from the battery. When it dips down, you're actually charging the battery because you can regen and that sort of stuff. And again, there's a button down here which you press and it actually gives you maximum regen on. But you can also do other things like turn on one of the 3 hybrid modes. Let me come to that in a minute. And as it goes up, then that shows you how much power, percentage power of the battery it's using. And on the other side, there's a rev meter, so that's quite good. Usual Renegade touches here, so I won't go into too much detail. Lots of little Easter eggs, of course. You've got little Jeep logo there, you've got the grille logo behind the wing mirror, and on the speaker surrounds. It's a typical Jeep thing. All of this is quite familiar, normal. Cup holders, little bit of a cubby box, etc., etc. On the screen is pretty much, you got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You can connect that out from the USB plug here, plus a 12-volt supply. Over here, like I said, you've got maximum regen on button, so when you press that, the maximum regen is activated. This is essentially your all-terrain mode. As I said, this is trail rated, so fully off-road capable. So it's got the auto mode, sports mode, we'll talk about that on the go, snow mode, sand, mud, and rock. Best to just leave it in auto. You've also got four-wheel drive, low, four-wheel drive, lock, and hill descent system as well. Now over here, these 3 buttons, these are quite interesting because this shows you hybrid mode, where it basically operates as a hybrid. Then you've got electric mode, where if there was any juice in the battery, it would operate purely as an electric car. Or you've got e-save mode. Now the e-save mode is basically what it will do is that it will run on normal combustion engine power until you need the electric mode, because then you can go into electric mode, so therefore it's not using up the battery power. So if you're heading into a village or a town or a low emission zone, you can hold it off and just use it for that bit. Also, what the e-save mode will do is it will enable maximum recharge of the battery as you're driving. Maybe we should just talk about the options on this car. Like I said, this one is £39,100. Starting price is £36,000, £36,500. £2,500 worth of options on this car. It's got parking pack. So it's got reversing camera on here, and of course sensors as well. And it's got function pack 2. Trailhawk, whatever that is. It's got a charging cable is an option, okay, and a temporary, so it is a space saver, spare tire, 6-speaker, GPS navigation, although you can use your Apple CarPlay, manual seats, cruise control, all the rest of it. This one has 17-inch alloy wheels, and it's an Omaha orange it's finished in, with black leather Trailhawk upholstery. So it's got quite a few things on this car. Very nice. How does it go? Let's find that out next. Right, so let's give the Renegade a go, and as you probably heard, I don't know if you heard it there, but the engine suddenly came in again because my battery mileage is depleted. I have a real issue with plugins. I really don't. I understand the whole hybrid concept, but the fact that I can charge it off the engine, why do I spend time to plug it in? And the problem with plugging in, that you have to have the motivation to plug it in. With an electric car, it's inevitable. You have to plug it in. You've got no choice. But with a hybrid, you're like, oh, if I get round to it, I'll do it. So the other day I was in the mall and I thought, okay, let me plug it in because I'm here now. I'll be here for half an hour or so. Let me plug it in. I found the charging point. I got there and it was one of those points where, they don't have a cable. You have to plug in your own cable. Rummaged around in the back and I realized that was the plug socket cable for domestic charging, not for that socket to socket charging, so to speak. So couldn't do it. So it's one of those things. Anyway, this car, however, does have a few neat little tricks because, like I said, you've got the 3 modes down there. You've got hybrid, you've got electric, and you've got e-save, and you've got maximum regen here as well. So it does actually recharge itself as well. I haven't seen a significant recharge in the time that I've been driving it, but I've seen it get back up to 5 or 6%. So what that means is that basically if I put it in e-save mode and I'm sitting in traffic, for example, and the engine is off, it'll turn the engine on because it will start to use the engine to charge up the battery so that I can later use the electric power. So that's the things that it does. But when it does that, the engine, you do hear it. The engine on this is a bit gruff. I don't know if you heard that when I moved off, but for pressing now, and it sounds quite. And you see, like the sound is now. I've lifted off the accelerator, but the sound is still droning on. So it does have that tendency to make quite a bit of noise as you're driving along. It's a little bit, considering that you start to get used to the refinement of the silence of driving this car when it's doing it in EV mode, when the engine kicks in, it's a little bit of a surprise, let's just put it that way. And it perhaps is a little bit jarring with the quietness that you were formerly appreciating when you were driving along, if you like. So, and the other thing I've got to say is that 238 horsepower, I mean, there is that instant acceleration. Look at that engine noise. There is that instant acceleration that you get from EVs because you're getting a little bit of help from the battery, the electric motor as well. But it no way feels like a 238. I mean, this is, okay, to be fair, it's heavy-ish for its size. It's 1,600 kilograms or so. I think it's slightly over. So it isn't, it's not a small car with 238 brake horsepower. Smallish SUV with quite a bit of weight with 238 brake horsepower. So, you're not feeling a lot of that horsepower. That's not to say that it's sluggish or anything like that. As you've seen off the line, it's quite happy to, little bit of effort on the accelerator and off it goes. Not a problem at all. If I put more effort, then it will make a little bit more noise, but it will move, as we'll find out in a minute. But overall, and then the other problem with the performance delivery is the gearbox. Now they've got the 6-speed in this. I know the Jeep do the 9-speed as well, but sometimes that gearbox seems a bit hesitant. Sometimes it seems a little bit confused about what it's doing. So round the corner on weight there, putting no problem building up the speed at all. It just makes a bit of noise, and once the gears realize what it is that you want to do, but they do sometimes seem to get caught out and get a little bit confused. Also, like you saw around the corner, a little bit of body lean. I mean, it is an SUV, and not only is it an SUV, but it's a trail-rated Jeep, which means, which is to say that it will do the stuff that you expect a Jeep to do, which means that it is a proper off-roader. So being a proper off-roader, inevitably there has to be some compromise there in terms of the handling ride dynamics. So therefore you are going to get a little bit of pitch and a little bit of motion when you do that. There is a bit of road roar as well, and there's a little bit of wind noise, not too much, nothing too obtrusive. I'm sitting quite tall in this little vehicle, so I feel like I'm in an SUV, so that's a good aspect of it. Of course, there is a bit of ground clearance. Talking of ground clearance, one of the things you might go, well, why do I want a car like this? Why do I want a small urban car that's actually a proper, as I've just said, a proper trail-rated Jeep, a Trailhawk? Inevitably, you're going to be like, well, I'm never going to actually take that off-road, am I? I'm never going to go and do the serious off-roading stuff in this car. Well, Yeah, quite possibly. But nowadays, you have a situation where, we are experiencing climate change, we're experiencing flooding. This thing has a 40 centimeter wading depth, aside from the fact that, if conditions get slippery or anything like that, then you'll have the added traction there. It's quite clever how they managed to get the front and the rear work as an all-wheel drive, even though they are, in fact, entirely different systems, because the front is combustion engine driven and the rear is electric motor driven. But obviously they have to work in tandem, otherwise the car would be pushing and pulling, and it'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it? But no, you don't notice at all. If any shenanigans are going on underneath here, you don't notice them at all. It all seems to be sorting itself out and working very efficiently and smoothly, and there doesn't seem to be any issue at all. So driving it around, I've been driving around a town mostly, and I do like the quietness with which it goes about proceedings, normally when it has enough battery charge or when it's sufficiently using the hybrid mode to be able to switch between one and the other. The engine noise, as you've noticed, is a little bit more gruff, but again, the stereo is pretty decent, so you can just turn that up, so it's not really a problem. It's a smallish car. Placing it, putting it into gaps, stuff like that, never seems to be an issue because, it's got compact dimensions. And visibility all around is good. The mirrors are quite large on this thing. Plus it's got that, blind spot mirror thing as well. So that's quite handy. Rear visibility is not an issue at all. And it's got reversing camera for parking and stuff. So it all helps. So overall, driving it, the convenience of driving it is all there, and it has all the attributes that people, know and love and like from driving SUVs or even compact SUVs. So it's pretty much as you would expect it to be. Now, the steering is quite light. I wouldn't say that it's any sense sporting or has any kind of feel or anything, but it is sufficiently responsive and accurate and light, which is exactly what you'd expect. Again, like just emphasizing, this is not a sports car in any sense whatsoever. It is a family city urban SUV runabout with considerable off-roading abilities. Brakes are pretty good as well, quite reassuring. To be honest, the whole car has been set up in such a way that makes it, very easy to get in and drive. There is nothing here that complicates things. So now we're on the motorway and we are building up our speed to about 70 miles an hour. It doesn't have active cruise control on this one, but does have cruise control. It's been unruffled. I drove it up here on the motorway. It's been unruffled. I should say that the miles per gallon, of course, has dropped a little bit, and it's down to about 43.5 miles per gallon it's showing me at the moment, but that's a little bit of enthusiastic pedaling there, as you've seen. So I reckon, on a journey like this, on a longish journey, you're looking at 45 plus miles per gallon, which I guess is on par and not too bad for a car of this type and this size. So overall then, what do we think of the Jeep Renegade? The Jeep Renegade is a great car. I've always liked it. I liked it from day one. It has been, passed by some of its contemporaries, if you like, in terms of the technology, the gizmos, and perhaps a little bit refinement in the driving experience, because it has been around 5-6 years now. So it still feels fresh, it still looks fresh, and this bright orange car certainly gets some looks and attention as well. And it's a funky little thing to have, so that's not a bad thing. I think that we're getting to a stage where we're probably looking at a replacement for this car soon, and I've got to say that for the money, it's a hard decision to make. But again, you're going to spend that money, but if you're saving money in taxes and stuff like that with the lower emissions and the better fuel economy, then you've got to balance it up and you've got to weigh it up. And if it works out for you, then it's not a bad car to go for. Overall, have revs. And there's no reason for you to walk in front of the car. Honestly, there's no reason for you to do that. Well, it's at 1%, and I'll tell you about how you can charge it and stuff like that. And you've got the fuel on this side. No! Dude! Take 3 because some idiot keeps walking in front of the car. For no reason. It's like there's no gap. I left no gap. I left no space for anybody to walk there. But for some reason, it's the entire park. He has to walk this way. He did it twice. I've moved the car. A big thank you to my top tier patron and sponsor Jay Williams over Air Technic. Check out their shop for brakes, exhaust, body kits, and of course suspension. Plus, thanks to Muhammad Ali Ahmed and Tom Conway Gordon, who are both tier 4 patrons, and of course all of these guys for also subscribing to my Patreon account and contributing so much towards helping me to continue creating this content. Join them over at patreon.com/browncarguy, and of course make sure that you are subscribing, liking and sharing this channel. Hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any of my videos, and also check out browncarguy.com and follow me on all social media channels. Just search for my hashtag, which of course is #browncarguy.